The crumpled paper trembled in my hands as I read the words that would shatter my world. My 8-year-old daughter's messy handwriting stretched across the pink paper, addressed not to me, but to Santa Claus. Dear Santa, I don't want any toys this year. Could you please make Daddy come home more? Mommy tries to smile, but I know she's sad when he's not here. Maybe you could give him a job closer to home so he doesn't have to work so late. Love, Sophia. I'm Alea, and until that moment, I thought I was living the suburban dream. Funny how a child's innocent wish can rip away years of carefully constructed denial. Mommy, did you find my letter? Sophia called from the kitchen, where she was supposed to be finishing her homework. I wanted to mail it early, so Santa has time to think about it. I quickly wiped my eyes. Yes, sweetie, I found it. My voice somehow stayed steady. How about we have some hot chocolate while you finish that math? With marshmallows? Extra marshmallows, I promised, tucking the letter into my pocket. The paper felt like it was burning against my thigh. Later that night, after Sophia was asleep, I sat at my old easel in the garage, my makeshift studio. The canvas before me remained blank, just like the answers I sought. My phone buzzed with Wallace's nightly text. Working late again, don't wait up. I picked up my brush, dipped it in crimson paint, and made a single violent stroke across the canvas. The color reminded me of the lipstick stain I'd found on his collar last month. He'd claimed it was from when I hugged him that morning. I hadn't worn red lipstick in years. My phone rang, startling me. It was Lorelei. You're in the garage again, aren't you? She asked without preamble. Where else would I be at midnight? Have you talked to him yet? I stared at the red slash on my canvas. About what? About how he's working late 4 nights a week? About how Sophia's asking Santa to bring her father home? Jesus, Alea! Lorelei's voice softened. What did Sophia say exactly? I pulled out the letter and read it to her, my voice cracking on the last few words. That manipulative bastard, Lorelei hissed. You know he's not working, right? Nobody works that much overtime in accounting. I know. The words felt like glass in my throat. I needed proof before I said anything. I needed to be sure. And now? Now I have my daughter writing letters to Santa about her absent father. I grabbed another brush, this time choosing midnight blue. You know what the worst part is? Last week, when he actually came home for dinner, Sophia was so excited she could barely eat. She kept watching him like he might disappear if she blinked. What are you going to do? The garage door suddenly hummed to life, making me jump. He's home. I have to go. Alea, wait! I ended the call just as Wallace walked in, his tie loosened, shirt wrinkled. He smiled that same smile that used to make my heart skip. Now it just made my stomach turn. Still painting? He asked, setting down his briefcase. It's late. Still working? I countered, watching his face carefully. It's late. Something flickered in his eyes. Worry? Guilt? But his smile never wavered. Year-end reports. You know how it is. He loosened his tie further. Jonathan's really pushing us to get everything done before the holidays. I thought about Sophia's letter, about the lipstick stain, about all the missed dinners and school events, about the way he always smelled like fresh cologne when he came home late, as if he'd just applied it. How is Jonathan? I asked casually, cleaning my brush. Sophia's been asking about the company picnic. Remember last year when he gave her that giant teddy bear? Wallace's hand paused on his briefcase. Oh, he's good. Busy, you know. Actually, he's been out of town a lot lately. I nodded slowly, remembering the conversation I'd had with Jonathan's wife at the grocery store just yesterday, where she'd mentioned how nice it was having him home more since his surgery last month. I'm heading up to bed, Wallace said, already turning away. Don't stay up too late. I watched him go, my hand clenching around Sophia's letter in my pocket. The red slash across my canvas seemed to pulse in the dim garage light, like a warning sign I'd been ignoring for too long. Don't worry, I whispered to the empty garage. I won't. The art gallery buzzed with the kind of energy I hadn't felt in years. Paintings lined the pristine walls, each one competing for attention, but I couldn't take my eyes off the visitor log I'd just discovered at the reception desk. "Can I help you find anything?" The gallery assistant smiled politely. "No, I'm just—" My voice trailed off as I spotted a familiar signature. Wallace's distinctive scrawl, dated just 3 days ago. Another night, he was supposedly working late. "Are you an artist?" the assistant asked, noticing my intense study of the guest book. Before I could answer, a striking woman in a black dress approached. "She absolutely is. I've seen her work at the community center." She extended her hand. "I'm Tessa. Your piece with the red slash through darkness? Breathtaking." I shook her hand, surprised. "That was just— I'm not really—" "Don't downplay it," Tessa interrupted. "Raw emotion like that deserves to be seen. Are you showing anywhere else?" My phone buzzed. Another text from Wallace. "Stuck in traffic, don't hold dinner." I switched off my phone. "Actually, I'm looking to get back into it seriously. Do you have any suggestions?" Tessa's eyes lit up. "The Spring Arts Festival is accepting submissions. It's in Millbrook, about 40 minutes from here." She pulled out her business card. "I'm on the selection committee. Send me your portfolio." Millbrook, the same town Wallace claimed his new client was in. Later that afternoon, I met Lorelei at our usual coffee spot. She nearly spilled her latte when I told her about the gallery. "He signed the guest book?" She shook her head. "Amateur move. That's not all." I pulled out my laptop, opening the browser history I'd recovered from our shared computer. "Look at these searches. Apartments in Millbrook. Best restaurants Millbrook. Jewelry stores Millbrook." "Jewelry stores?" Lorelei's eyes widened. "Oh, honey. I'm entering the Spring Arts Festival," I announced, changing the subject before tears could form. "It's time to dust off my degree in fine arts." "About damn time." Lorelei grinned. "But what's your real plan?" I leaned forward, lowering my voice. "The festival's a big deal in Millbrook. Local news coverage, social events. Perfect excuse to be in town." Lorelei finished. "Sneaky, I like it." That evening, I was in my garage studio when Wallace came home early for once. He paused in the doorway, frowning at my newly organized space. "You're painting again?" He loosened his tie. "I thought that was just a hobby. Things change." I continued working on my piece, a woman's silhouette, fractured into pieces. "How was work?" "Fine. Jonathan's got me handling that Millbrook account." "Millbrook." I kept my voice casual. "That's where the Spring Arts Festival is held. I'm entering this year." The paintbrush in my hand trembled slightly as I watched his reaction in my peripheral vision. His shoulders tensed. "You're what?" He stepped closer. "Since when are you interested in art festivals?" "Since always. You'd know that if you were ever home." The words slipped out before I could stop them. Silence filled the garage. Wallace's phone chimed. He checked it quickly, angling the screen away from me. "I should go shower before dinner," he muttered, already retreating. The next morning, I drove to Millbrook, Sophia's letter tucked in my purse like a talisman. The town was smaller than I expected, its main street lined with boutiques and cafes. I parked outside the festival office, but something across the street caught my eye. A real estate agency. Through the window, I could see a wall of property listings. And there, speaking to an agent, was Wallace. My hands gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. I watched as he pointed to various listings, smiling and nodding. A woman joined him, placing her hand on his arm with casual intimacy. She was beautiful, younger, wearing a red dress that probably matched her lipstick. My phone rang, making me jump. It was Tessa. "I got your portfolio," she said without preamble. "It's perfect for what we're looking for. Raw, honest, emotional. The festival committee meets tomorrow. Can you make it?" I watched Wallace and the woman leave the real estate office, walking close together. "Tomorrow's perfect," I replied, my voice steady despite the storm in my chest. I wouldn't miss it for anything. After hanging up, I sat in my car, watching them disappear around a corner. I pulled out Sophia's letter, reading it one more time. Then I took out my sketchbook and began to draw, capturing every detail of what I'd just witnessed. Every line felt like a weapon I was sharpening, every shadow a truth I was uncovering. The festival wouldn't know what hit it. Neither would Wallace. The community center's walls transformed under our hands as Tessa and I hung the last pieces for my exhibition. Each canvas told a story, my story, though viewers wouldn't know it yet. "This one's going to start conversations," Tessa said, stepping back from the centerpiece. A man's silhouette split between two frames, one showing a perfect family scene, the other depicting a shadowy figure in a doorway. "That's the point." I adjusted the lighting. Art should make people uncomfortable sometimes. My phone buzzed. Wallace. "Working late again. Big presentation tomorrow." I showed Tessa the message. "He has no idea I'm here." "Men never suspect their wives of having lives beyond them," she replied, rolling her eyes. "Speaking of which, have you met Jonathan's wife? She's coming tonight." My heart skipped. Wallace's boss's wife? Small world, right? The exhibition opening exceeded my expectations. The room filled with local art enthusiasts, critics, and curious onlookers. I spotted Jonathan's wife, Margaret, studying my split-frame piece. "It's about duality," I explained, approaching her. "How people can live two completely different lives." "Fascinating." She sipped her wine. "Jonathan mentioned Wallace has been handling some big accounts lately, keeping him quite busy." "Really?" I tilted my head. "Even after Jonathan's surgery?" Margaret frowned. "Surgery? The one that's kept him home more recently?" Her confusion deepened. "My husband hasn't had any surgery." Before she could ask more questions, Lorelei appeared, grabbing my arm. "Sorry to interrupt, but there's someone you need to meet." She pulled me toward a distinguished-looking man in an expensive suit. "This is Jonathan." My throat went dry. Wallace's boss, the man who supposedly had him working late nights, was standing in my exhibition. "Remarkable work," he said, extending his hand. "Especially this series about deception. Very relevant to our times." I studied his face carefully. "Thank you. Actually, I'd love your opinion on something. My husband works for you." "Wallace?" Jonathan's expression shifted slightly. "Interesting coincidence. I was just telling my wife I haven't seen much of him lately. He's been managing that Millbrook project independently." "The one keeping him at the office until midnight?" I asked innocently. Jonathan's eyebrows rose. "We close the office at 6. The pieces clicked into place like a lock tumbling open. I excused myself and headed for the bathroom, hands shaking as I pulled out my phone. A quick search of local news in Millbrook brought up what I was looking for: a society page photo from last week's charity gala. There, in the background, Wallace stood with his arm around the woman in the red dress. The caption read, "Local business owner Daphne McGregor with guest at annual Children's Hospital benefit." I was still staring at the photo when the bathroom door opened. Tessa walked in. "You knew," I said, showing her the photo. "About Wallace and Daphne." She nodded slowly. "I've seen them around Millbrook. I wasn't sure how to tell you." "Why didn't you?" "Because you needed to find out on your own terms. To be ready." She leaned against the sink. "The festival committee loves your work, by the way, especially the pieces about betrayal." I laughed bitterly. If they only knew. That night, I waited up for Wallace. He came home just before midnight, smelling of unfamiliar perfume. "You're still awake." He loosened his tie. I thought, "How was the presentation?" I interrupted, not looking up from my sketchbook. "Good. Successful." He set down his briefcase. "What are you working on?" I turned the sketch toward him, a detailed drawing of him and Daphne outside the real estate office. The color drained from his face. "Alea, I can explain." "Can you explain it to Sophia?" I stood up, my voice deadly calm. "Can you explain why she had to write to Santa, begging him to bring her daddy home?" "You don't understand." "Ha, I understand perfectly." I gathered my sketches. "By the way, Jonathan came to my exhibition tonight." Funny, he seems surprised you've been working late, considering the office closes at 6. Wallace stepped toward me. Let's talk about this. No, I moved past him. I'm done talking. But don't worry, I won't say anything yet. I'm saving that for the Spring Arts Festival in Millbrook. I hear it's quite the social event. Daphne will be there, won't she? I left him standing in the garage, his mouth open, but no words coming out. Upstairs, I checked on Sophia, sleeping peacefully with her stuffed animals. Don't worry, baby, I whispered. Mommy's going to fix everything. I closed her door softly, already planning my next series of paintings. They would tell a story of betrayal, revenge, and justice, and this time, everyone would know exactly who inspired them. The Millbrook Art Center hummed with activity as Tessa and I set up my new collection. Each piece was carefully positioned to tell its story. Our story, though Daphne wouldn't know that yet. She's here, Tessa whispered, nodding toward the entrance. Daphne McGregor swept in wearing another designer dress, this time in deep purple. She moved through the space like she owned it, which, according to my research, she practically did. Tessa! Daphne air-kissed her cheeks. These new pieces are extraordinary. Who's the artist? This is Alea. Tessa gestured to me. The rising star I told you about. Daphne turned to me, her smile perfect and practiced. Your work is fascinating, especially this series. She gestured to the triptych before us. 3 panels showing a man's gradual transformation, from family man to shadow figure to stranger. It's about hidden lives, I explained, watching her face carefully. How well do we really know the people we love? Profound. She tilted her head. You must join us for the festival's opening gala. I'm hosting at my house. I wouldn't miss it. My phone buzzed. Wallace. I declined the call. Trouble? Daphne asked. Just my husband. He's been distant lately. Her expression softened with rehearsed sympathy. Men can be so complicated. That's why I've sworn off marriage. She laughed. Though there is someone special in my life now. Lucky man, I said, my voice steady despite my churning stomach. Speaking of men, Tessa interrupted, Jonathan's here. Wallace's boss approached us, his presence commanding attention. Ladies, he greeted, then stopped short when he saw me. Alea? What a surprise. Jonathan! Daphne hugged him warmly. You know Alia? She's Wallace's wife, he said slowly, realization dawning in his eyes as he looked between us. The color drained from Daphne's face. Wallace's? Yes, Wallace Allen? I smiled sweetly. Your star employee? The one who's been working late? Jonathan's expression hardened. Excuse us, ladies. He guided me away from the others. How long have you known? Long enough. I showed him the photos on my phone. Wallace and Daphne at restaurants, the real estate office, the charity gala. He's been lying to everyone, to me, to you, to her. Christ. Jonathan ran a hand through his hair. The Millbrook account was supposed to be 3 days a month, Max. Try 3 nights a week. I pulled out Sophia's letter. While our daughter writes to Santa, begging for her father to come home, Jonathan read the letter, his jaw tightening. This ends now. I'm calling a board meeting for Monday. Wait, I touched his arm. Not yet. The festival opening is Saturday. Let me handle this my way first. He studied me for a moment, then nodded. You're either brilliant or terrifying, possibly both. Back at home, Wallace was waiting in the garage. Where were you? Millbrook. I continued unpacking my art supplies. Setting up for the festival. You need to stop this. His voice shook slightly. Whatever you're planning. Planning? I turned to face him. Like you planned your life with Daphne? The house hunting? The jewelry shopping? It's not what you think. Really? Because I think you're living 2 lives. I think you're lying to everyone. Me, Sophia, Jonathan, Daphne. I picked up my sketchbook. Did you know she's hosting the festival opening at her house? She invited me personally today. Wallace grabbed my arm. Alea, please! Let go. My voice was ice. Or I'll call Jonathan right now and tell him exactly why his star employee has been falsifying overtime reports. He released me, stepping back. What do you want? I want you to keep playing your role. Go to work, come home late, live your lie. I opened my sketchbook to a new page. At least until Saturday. And then, I started sketching his face. Not the one he showed to the world, but the one I saw now. Desperate, cornered, afraid. Then everyone gets to see the truth. Through my art, through my eyes. I looked up from my drawing. How do you think Daphne will react when she realizes she's not the only one? When she sees herself in my paintings, the other woman who thought she was the only woman. Wallace left without another word. The garage door humming closed behind him. My phone lit up with a text from Tessa. Daphne's still here, asking questions about you. She's intrigued. I smiled, adding the final touches to my sketch. The festival couldn't come soon enough. My masterpiece was almost complete, and soon everyone would see the real picture, especially the woman in purple who thought she'd found her perfect man. Daphne's mansion glittered under the evening sky as guests filtered in for the festival's opening gala. I adjusted my black dress, the one I'd bought specifically for tonight, and clutched my exhibition catalog like a weapon. Ready? Lorelei squeezed my arm. She'd insisted on coming for moral support. I have to be. I checked my phone. Wallace had texted earlier. Working late, don't wait up. Inside, the party was in full swing. Daphne held court in the living room, champagne in hand, while caterers weaved through the crowd with hors d'oeuvres. Allez! She waved me over. Everyone, this is the artist I've been raving about. Her exhibition is the highlight of the festival. I smiled, noting the photos on her mantel, her and Wallace at various events, his wedding ring conspicuously absent. Beautiful home, I said. Very intimate. Thank you. My boyfriend helped choose it. He has excellent taste. She glanced at her watch. He should be here soon, actually. Just working late. Isn't he always? I caught Jonathan's eye across the room. He nodded slightly. Ladies and gentlemen, Tessa called out, tapping her glass. If I could have your attention. As festival director, it's my pleasure to introduce our featured artist. Alea? I moved to the center of the room, my heart pounding. Thank you all for coming. My latest collection, Double Lives, explores the nature of deception and truth. I opened the exhibition catalog. Each piece tells a story. Some might find it familiar. The front door opened. Wallace walked in, freezing when he saw me. Darling! Daphne rushed to him. You're just in time. Alea was about to walk us through her work. Wallace's face went pale. Actually, I should... Please stay. I interrupted. This piece was inspired by you. The room fell silent as I unveiled the first canvas. It showed a man in a business suit, his shadow splitting into two distinct shapes, one of a father holding a child's hand, the other of a lover embracing another woman. I call it the perfect lie, I said, watching Daphne's expression shift from confusion to dawning horror. Notice how the man's wedding ring is visible in one shadow, but absent in the other. Wallace stepped forward. Alea, don't! The next piece, I continued, revealing another canvas, shows a child's letter to Santa. I used actual text. Dear Santa, I don't want any toys this year. Could you please make Daddy come home more? Daphne's champagne glass slipped from her hand, shattering on the marble floor. Wedding ring? Her voice trembled. Wallace, what is she talking about? He hasn't told you? I pulled out my phone, displaying our family photo. About his wife? His daughter? The life he goes home to when he's not here? The room erupted in whispers. Jonathan stepped forward, placing a hand on Wallace's shoulder. We should talk about those overtime reports, Wallace. You're married? Daphne's voice rose. All this time? The house hunting, the future we planned. I can explain, Wallace started, but Daphne cut him off. Explain! Explain! She turned to me. How long have you known? Since my daughter wrote that letter to Santa. I met her eyes. I thought you deserved to know the truth. He's been lying to all of us. Get out! Daphne pointed at Wallace. Both of you, get out of my house. Actually, Jonathan interjected, Wallace needs to come with me. The board will be very interested in his creative accounting. Wallace looked between us, his wife, his lover, his boss, then turned and fled. The door slammed behind him, leaving a deafening silence. Daphne sank onto her designer couch, mascara tracking down her cheeks. I had no idea, she whispered. All those nights he said he was working. He was with his family, I finished softly, until he wasn't. The party dissolved quickly after that. As guests filed out, Tessa approached with a small smile. Well, that's one way to make an artistic statement. Later that night, I found Sophia still awake, waiting in her bed. Mommy, where's Daddy? I sat beside her, pulling her close. Daddy made some bad choices, sweetheart. He hurt a lot of people. Is that why you're sad sometimes? I was sad. I stroked her hair. But I'm not anymore. Because I have you, and you're all I need. My phone buzzed with texts. From Jonathan about Monday's board meeting. From Tessa about exhibition sales. From Daphne asking to meet for coffee. But the one that caught my eye was from Wallace. I'm sorry, I never meant for any of this. I deleted it without responding. In Sophia's room, surrounded by her stuffed animals and innocent dreams, I realized some apologies come too late. Sometimes the only closure is the one you create yourself, stroke by stroke, truth by truth, until the picture is finally complete. The coffee shop was nearly empty when Daphne walked in, looking nothing like the polished socialite from her parties. Her eyes were red-rimmed, her designer clothes replaced by yoga pants and an oversized sweater. I almost didn't come, she said, sliding into the booth across from me. I almost didn't invite you. I pushed a latte toward her. But we need to talk. About Wallace? She laughed bitterly. What's left to say? I pulled out a manila envelope. These are copies of everything. Photos, bank statements, fake overtime reports. Jonathan's lawyers want to know if you'll testify about the money Wallace spent on your house down payment. He used company funds? Daphne's hand trembled as she took the envelope. God, I'm such an idiot. We both were. I watched her flip through the documents. He's been moving money around for months, setting up his perfect escape. The bell above the door chimed. Lorelei rushed in, waving a newspaper. Have you seen this? The business section headline read, Local Executive Under Investigation for Fraud. It's everywhere, Lorelei continued. Jonathan's not holding back. Daphne stood abruptly. I need some air. Outside, she leaned against the brick wall, lighting a cigarette with shaking hands. I sold my condo, she said quietly, to move in with him. He said we'd get married in the spring. While I was helping Sophia write wedding invitations for her dolls, I added. He watched our daughter play bride while planning a life with you. Sophia. Daphne's face crumpled. I didn't know about her. I swear, if I'd known. My phone buzzed. Wallace again. This time, I answered. Stop calling. My voice was steel. Please, he begged. Let me explain everything to Sophia. She needs to hear it from me. Like she needed to hear why you missed her school play? Her piano recital? I watched Daphne's expression change as she listened. She wrote to Santa because she couldn't talk to you. I'll make it right. No, you won't. I ended the call. Daphne crushed her cigarette under her heel. The festival committee wants to extend your exhibition. They say controversy sells. Are you okay with that? Display it all? Her eyes hardened. Every painting, every truth. Let everyone see what he did to us. Back home, I found Sophia at the kitchen table, drawing. Her picture showed 2 houses, one with her and me, another with Wallace and a question mark. Is this where Daddy lives now? She asked. I sat beside her, my heart breaking. Something like that. Jenny at school says her daddy lives in 2 houses. She gets extra presents at Christmas. The doorbell rang before I could respond. Through the window, I saw Wallace on the porch, clutching a stuffed animal. "Go to your room, sweetie," I said quickly. "Mommy needs to talk to Daddy." I opened the door but blocked the entrance. "You can't be here." "5 minutes," he pleaded. "Let me give this to Sophia. A teddy bear doesn't fix this." I stepped onto the porch, closing the door behind me. Jonathan called. "The board meeting's tomorrow." "I'll lose everything." "You already did." I crossed my arms. "The lawyers will contact you about the divorce." "Divorce?" His face fell. "But Sophia—" "Will understand someday why her mother chose truth over lies." I turned to go back inside. "Leave the bear. I'll tell her it's from Santa." "Alea, wait!" He grabbed my arm. "What about all our years together? Don't they mean anything?" "They meant everything." I pulled away. "That's why it hurts so much." Later that night, Lorelai came over with wine and takeout. We sat in my garage studio, surrounded by new canvases. "What's next?" she asked, watching me sketch. "The lawyers want to meet tomorrow after Jonathan's board meeting." I added shadows to my drawing. A little girl holding a teddy bear, standing between two worlds. Then the divorce proceedings begin. "And the art?" I looked at my latest piece. A woman emerging from shattered glass, each fragment reflecting a different truth. "The art stays." I picked up my brush. It's time to paint my next chapter. My phone lit up with a text from Daphne. "Meeting with Jonathan's lawyers in the morning. Bringing everything. He doesn't get to win this one." I showed Lorelai the message. "Looks like I'm not the only one choosing truth." "Good." She raised her wine glass. "To new beginnings." "To new beginnings," I echoed. But my eyes drifted to Sophia's latest drawing on my workbench. In bright crayon colors, she'd drawn herself holding hands with me, both of us smiling. Above us, in her wobbly handwriting, "Me and Mommy's happy ending." I picked up my brush again, dipping it in bright yellow. The color of hope, of morning sun, of fresh starts. Sometimes the most beautiful art comes from the deepest pain, and I was finally ready to paint something new. The corporate boardroom felt colder than I remembered from the company Christmas party. Jonathan sat at the head of the table, flanked by lawyers. Wallace slumped in his chair, his usual confidence shattered. "The evidence is conclusive," Jonathan's lawyer announced, spreading documents across the polished table. "Falsified overtime reports, misappropriated company funds, unauthorized use of corporate accounts." Daphne sat across from me, her testimony notes arranged neatly before her. She hadn't looked at Wallace once. "Mr. Allen?" Jonathan leaned forward. "Would you like to explain the $100,000 transferred to a private account in Millbrook?" Wallace's lawyer whispered something in his ear, but he shook his head. "It was for the house. For Daphne and me, while maintaining your primary residence with your wife and daughter." Jonathan's voice could have frozen hell. "Using company money? I can pay it back. That's not the point." Jonathan slid forward a stack of papers. "This is your termination agreement. Sign it, and we won't press criminal charges." The pen trembled in Wallace's hand as he signed. Outside the boardroom, he tried to approach me. "Don't." I held up my hand. "The divorce papers are being delivered today. At least let me explain to Sophia." "You mean the daughter you were ready to abandon?" Daphne's voice cut through the corridor. "The one who wrote to Santa because she couldn't reach her own father?" Wallace stepped back as if slapped. "I never meant to get caught," she finished. "Save it for your lawyers." Back at home, Sophia was waiting with Lorelai, showing off her latest art project, a family tree with branches spreading in different directions. "Look, Mommy!" She pointed to the drawing. "Ms. Roberts said families can look different, and that's okay." I hugged her tight, breathing in her strawberry shampoo scent. "That's absolutely right, baby." The doorbell rang. It was the courier with the divorce papers. As I signed for them, another car pulled up. Wallace. "Sophia, go help Aunt Lorelai with dinner," I said quickly. "But Daddy's here." She moved toward the door. "Not now, sweetie, please." Wallace walked up the driveway as Sophia disappeared inside, his shoulders sagging under his untucked shirt. You got the papers? He asked. I held up the envelope. Just arrived. I lost everything today. His voice cracked. The job, the house in Millbrook, Daphne. Don't take Sophia too. You took yourself away from Sophia long before any of this. I thrust the papers at him. Sign them. Then we can discuss supervised visitation. Supervised? He recoiled. I'm her father. A father who was ready to start a new family and abandon his daughter. I kept my voice low, aware of Sophia possibly listening. You don't get to walk away and then come back on your terms. The kitchen window slid open. Daddy? Sophia called out. Are you coming to dinner? Wallace looked at me pleadingly. Not tonight, sweetheart, I called back. Daddy's just picking up some papers. But I made a picture for him. I watched the pain flash across Wallace's face. Good. Let him feel a fraction of what Sophia felt every time he chose his other life over her. I'll sign, he whispered, taking the papers. But please, don't keep her from me. You did that yourself. I turned to go inside. Have your lawyer contact mine about visitation arrangements. Later that night, after Sophia was asleep, I sat in my studio staring at my latest painting, a phoenix rising from scattered photographs and torn documents. My phone buzzed with a text from Daphne. Just sold the ring he gave me, using the money to start fresh in Seattle. Another message popped up, this time from Jonathan. Board approved your art installation for the lobby. When can you start? The garage door hummed open. Lorelei walked in with 2 glasses of wine. Sophia asleep? I nodded. Finally. She wanted to know if Daddy would come to her art show next week. What did you tell her? The truth. That sometimes people we love make choices that hurt us, but it doesn't mean we stop loving them. I picked up my brush. We just love them differently. Speaking of differently, Lorelei grinned. Tessa called. The gallery in New York wants to feature your Double Lives series. I looked at my latest work, then at Sophia's family tree drawing pinned to the wall. Both told stories of broken things being remade into something new, something honest. Tell them yes, I said, dipping my brush in paint the color of sunrise. It's time to show the world what rising from ashes really looks like. My phone lit up one last time. Wallace. Signed papers being delivered tomorrow. I'm sorry for everything. I deleted the message without responding. Some apologies don't need answers. Sometimes silence speaks louder than any words could. Instead, I picked up my brush and kept painting, adding light to the darkness, turning pain into art, making beauty from the broken pieces of what used to be. The New York gallery buzzed with opening night energy as Sophia bounced between my paintings, proudly explaining them to anyone who would listen. This one's about Daddy's big mistake, she told an elderly couple, pointing to the split-frame piece. But this one's about Mommy being strong. She gestured to the Phoenix painting. Sophia, I called out, let the nice people explore on their own. But I'm helping! She twirled in her new party dress, the one she'd picked specially for tonight. Lorelei appeared with champagne. The Times art critic is here, and you'll never guess who just walked in. Through the gallery's glass doors, I saw Wallace hesitate before entering. He looked different, older somehow. Sophia spotted him too. Daddy! She ran to him, stopping just short of hugging him. You came. I promised, didn't I? He knelt to her level. Your mom's art is important. Did you see my picture? She pointed to a small frame nestled between my larger pieces. Her family tree drawing, now part of the exhibition. It's beautiful. His voice cracked slightly. Just like you. I approached them, glass in hand. You're early for pickup. Actually, he straightened up, I was hoping to see the show, if that's okay. Before I could respond, Jonathan's voice boomed across the gallery. Alea! The Tokyo Gallery called. They want the entire collection. Wallace's eyes widened. Tokyo. Life goes on, I said simply. People rebuild. Sophia tugged at my dress. Can I show Daddy the surprise painting? Surprise painting? Wallace asked. I nodded to Sophia. Go ahead. She led us to a canvas covered in black cloth. This one's new, she announced. Mommy finished it yesterday. I pulled away the cloth, revealing a portrait of Sophia sitting at her art table, surrounded by drawings. Through a window behind her, two separate scenes played out. One showing me in my studio, another showing Wallace at his supervised visits, both of us watching our daughter create. Hi, it's called New Normal, I explained, because sometimes broken things can't be fixed, but they can be transformed. Wallace stared at the painting, his hands trembling slightly. You captured her perfectly. That's what mothers do. I turned to Sophia. Sweetie, why don't you show Daddy your art corner? The gallery set up a special space for kids to draw. As they walked away, Daphne appeared beside me. He looks terrible. Seattle suits you better anyway, I replied, noting her renewed confidence. The tech startup's taking off. She smiled. Thank you, by the way, for the wake-up call we both needed. Across the gallery, Sophia was showing Wallace her latest drawings. He sat beside her, carefully keeping the court-mandated distance, learning to love her in this new way. Your next series, Tessa joined us. What's it about? Healing, I said, watching my daughter teach her father how to draw a proper phoenix. But not the kind that erases scars, the kind that turns them into strength. The gallery director clinked his glass for attention. Ladies and gentlemen, a toast to our featured artist, whose Double Lives series has captured international attention. I barely heard the rest of his speech. Instead, I watched Sophia drawing, her small hands creating something new from blank paper, just as I had done with blank canvases and a broken heart. Later, as Wallace prepared to leave, Sophia hugged him goodbye. See you Saturday, Daddy? Wouldn't miss it. He turned to me. The painting, it's incredible. Life is, I replied, when you're honest about it. After he left, Sophia and I stood before New Normal, her hand in mine. Are you still sad, Mommy? No, baby. I squeezed her hand. I'm strong, like the phoenix in your drawings. Like us, she corrected. The gallery slowly emptied, but requests for interviews and international showings piled up on my phone. Lorelei was already talking about hiring an agent. Through the windows, I could see the New York skyline glittering like possibilities. Ready to go home? I asked Sophia. She shook her head, pulling out her sketchbook. One more drawing. I watched her work, adding colors and shapes until a picture emerged. Two phoenixes, one big and one small, flying together toward a rising sun. It's us, she explained, making everything beautiful again. I hung her drawing next to New Normal, where it belonged. Proof that even the smallest artists know that life's masterpiece isn't in the perfection of the original sketch, but in how beautifully you redesign it when things go wrong. The gallery lights dimmed, leaving just enough glow to illuminate our reflection in the window. Mother and daughter, standing amid the art we'd made from truth, ready to paint whatever came next.